Welcome back, good fellas. We're back with another episode where we ask Tony questions and he gives us the answer. How are you today, Tony?
Doing well, yourself?
I'm fantastic. I have so much energy.
Wow.
I drank a coffee this morning and it actually worked. I was surprised.
I didn't have any coffee this morning.
That's really sad.
Yes.
First question today.
Mm-hmm.
How do you join two pieces of stone?
Okay, so normally what you do, we have to lay everything out. So we lay everything out with the template, make sure all the veining's going in the right direction, line up stuff so if there is any kind of veining that it lines up perfectly, because you want to try to make that joint as invisible as possible. The other thing we try to do is we try to avoid a full seam. If we can, we try to put it by the sink or the cooktop, where you're only getting 4 inches, 4.5 inches of the seam in the front and the back of the sink or the cooktop. If you can't, then you're stuck with a 26-inch seam, and then it makes it even more vital to make sure that the veining and all that is lined up. So basically what we do is we cut the stone, and then we slot the sides of the stone to accept, by putting a slot in the side of the stone, you get more epoxy. We use a 2-part epoxy. And we color match it to match the color of the stone. So what we do is we put some slots in both sides, and what happens is when we seam it together, we make sure everything's level, and like I said, it's a 2-part epoxy. Once it hardens with those slots in there, it keeps the stone from twisting. So it almost forms like a biscuit. If anybody does woodworking, they would understand what a biscuit is. So it's almost a biscuit joint. And it keeps, like I said, it keeps from twisting. There's more glue in it because you pull it as tight as possible, because you don't want an 1/8 inch or 3/16 joint. If you have a joint like that, if you have a seam like that, you have a terrible seam. It should look nothing more than just a pencil line, and you try to make it a color match so it's almost invisible. But when you pull it really tight like that, if you don't have those slots in there, all the glue comes out, and there's not much glue there. So that's why it's very important that you slot the sides, you have enough glue in there, enough epoxy in there to hold everything together. It's an important step that a lot of fabricators don't do because you're using a lot more glue and you're spending a lot more time. But it's vital to make sure that seam stays together.
That's surprising that not a lot of people do that, because in art class they teach you when you do clay to make the slots so that when you join the clay together it just doesn't fall apart.
Exactly right.
Second question for today. Can you fix cracks and chips in your stone?
You can, but it always depends on how badly it's cracked or chipped. If it's a little chip, you can, again, especially if you have it. If you have the chip or you have the piece that fell out, much easier to fix, much more invisible repair. If you don't have it, then we have to mix a 2-part epoxy, color match it, and try to blend it in. A stone that doesn't, especially with a crack, a stone that doesn't have any movement or variation, when a stone has a big vein or something like that, it's much easier to repair it and mask it to almost make it look like a vein.
Yeah.
You can make that crack almost look like a vein. When it doesn't have any movement or variation and it has a crack in it, it's a lot harder to make that crack invisible. Again, you try to color match it and blend it, but because it doesn't have any other veining in it, it stands out. So fixable, but not always not noticeable. The more movement variation, a lot easier it is to mask a crack once you repair it. But yeah, most stone can be fixed for chips or scratches. The worse it is, the longer it takes, the more expensive it becomes. But generally, everything is fixable. Sometimes it's more cost effective to just replace than repair. So it depends on how bad it is and what kind of repair it is. But yeah, it usually can be fixed.
Well, those are the 2 questions for today. Please keep sending in more questions. You can do that over Facebook via Messenger. You can do it over Instagram via direct message. We also have a Twitter as well. You can message us on there. That's all that we have for you guys today.
They can call.
Yeah, you can call us and send in your questions. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode. We will see you back again next week. We hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Tuesday. See ya.